Hellcast. This is the new Hellcast live stream. Hope you'll like it. Definitely let us know in the comments if there's any problems. It's good to see everybody here. A few names. Luke, I don't recognize you other than you've been telling us before the show that we had some mic problems, so definitely keep that up if it's been going on. But then Ghoulie, Blue Drum, Occultic Keeper of Black Flames, and Frost Gate. That's a long name. El Compita, Jared, good to see you guys. Sebastian, Ghoulie, Major Lee Rager. So definitely eye desecration. So anybody that's not said hello, please say hello. Let us know you're here. But we got a pretty cool show, I guess, going here because like J-Dawg mentioned, I don't think a lot of people know because before here we were playing some music by Sadistic Intent, and a lot of people when that main song comes in, they're always wondering, well, who is that?
It crossed my mind before. I didn't know if there was people that I just assumed everybody knew what it was. But I do forget that there's younger generation and there's things that pass everybody up, including myself. Like there's bands that like I've mentioned and people like I can't believe you never heard of them. Like big bands too. And it's just one of those things that like. You just never sat down. For example, I was at Acid Witch. What is it, like 10 days ago or so? A week ago, 2 weeks ago. Acid Witch played Cleveland.
Yeah, I
was there, hanging out, getting to see the witch, but I was hanging out outside
the witch.
Yeah, that's what Slash calls it. But Athenar was there. We're hanging out outside, and we're talking about bands and stuff like that. I never noticed. You realize that he's never heard Cannibal Corpse before?
Athenar's never heard.
No. Never heard him.
He's never heard, not like he's just never heard the album that you like.
Never heard him. So I said, how's that possible? We're not going to say, it's one of those things. I always known what they were. It's like, at the time I was listening, like Entombed and Dismembered. Entombed. He said Morbid Angel and he likes the first Deicide. And he was just like, I was just, listening to a lot of 80s stuff. They just passed me up. I just never. Yeah, he just never got a chance to listen to him. I was like, oh, maybe you should. He's like, yeah, maybe I should. I was like, just never. But I thought that was weird as hell. But for example, like a band that I mentioned for me was like Accept. I know who they are, balls to the wall. I heard it, but I probably haven't listened the first time until about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and he would definitely be like, "What? You ever listen to that?"
I know who they are. I was like, I've even heard cover songs by bands doing. I was like, I just never. I was just more interested in checking out death metal and shit all those years, and just the heavy metal I did is what I heard, and I really liked it right then and there. It's just I just never went on my way to listen to them, and just never did. So I can understand that. I think everybody has those bands. Some of the tough guys might be like, I ain't got that. It's like, if you really think deep down, you might,
Yeah.
You probably do.
Yeah, you probably. Well, we were going to talk about bands of the greats, and Midnight's, and more particularly how to become one of the bands of the greats. Because I really think that there's definitely great music and people love that, but there's also kind of an unwritten rule, and it's a little bit of just things that you do, and we'll kind of go on all that in a tangent. And Midnight was going to be one of those examples of a band that's kind of rising to be one of the greats, but he's never heard Cannibal Corpse, so I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, at least I know he legitimately listens to metal as opposed to these other guys, that are with the greats.
Yeah.
Like for example, like I don't think it's. Granted, they got a bunch of bad albums under their belt, but like you take like David Vincent, Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
How many great bands that guy's. He'd be like, oh, like he doesn't know. He just won it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how many great bands? But they're one of the greats. I don't deny that. So I don't think just based on what he likes does he kind of mean Motorhead is obviously one of the greats by almost everybody's standards. You don't need to go over that guy's musical taste again, right? He definitely don't know who Sadistic Intent is. Right. I guarantee he doesn't even know who Sacrifice is.
Yeah. J-Dawg mic is not working.
God damn it. So you can't hear me at all?
I don't know. Is J-Dawg coming through? Randomly stops?
Give me a fucking lemon.
I don't know. I'll find out in the playback. That's for damn sure. Could someone please let me know if his mic still working? Athenar's pulling your leg. There is no way it's possible. Comes and goes, and then.
That's what he said. I don't know why he'd lie about that.
All right. Well, move that mic just like really close to you.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing all those times.
Well, I don't know.
Not necessary.
I think maybe we got a compressor issue
Is that
going.
better, folks?
Who the fuck knows?
You know my Athenar story?
Yeah, really.
I'm talking to a fucking wall.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. I think we got like just there's some technicalities going on. I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Kind of like why your camera just died. This is great. I love all these problems.
It's not really my camera.
Well, the one that just looks at you, the nicest one.
Oh, that really died? At least I'm not in the photo shot.
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, it sounds cool. We're gonna spend.
Sounds like shit or sounds good?
I don't know.
Episode of technicalities. Figuring shit out.
Christian said Athenar is pulling your leg. There's no way it's possible. So we're just gonna go with it. You can hear, and keep going from there. Okay. And then I don't know why the fuck your camera doesn't work, but hey, that's. So
you can't see me?
No.
Oh. We can see you.
Oh, we can go to this.
What is that?
This third angle.
See it? Like, show me it.
It's just the wide angle.
But can it just show both of us?
Some files. I mean, this shit is absolutely unnerving. But I just want to get into some conversations.
So, shot?
Yeah. So we'll use the shitty one. If the good one wants to decide to work all of a sudden, then great. If not, then I don't know. I'm not going to stop and fucking sit there and diagnose here. So I think that first and foremost, what kind of even put this whole conversation of the greats into my head in the first place was giving a shout out to Alexander, a longtime Hellcast listener, for bringing up a topic idea, and I've kind of segued off of this, but first and foremost, we'll address it the way that he put it. Is it better to be a band that puts out a few demos, an album, maybe two, and have great cult status among the hardcore fan base, and then break up and disappear into obscurity, or be a band that starts out obscure, then changes their sound to become more acceptable, to then grow with 8+ albums and a 20+ year career, but get labeled mainstream and only are truly loved for their early work? Now, I think that's definitely interesting because that could go in a lot of different ways. But first off, mentioning kind of that band that changes their sound and then goes and becomes a mainstream success.
Well, before you answer all of that, you can elaborate a little bit, because I mean, I want to elaborate on this, because in any other scene you probably don't have to, but in the metal scene you got all those tough guys that try to be tough, try to out underground everyone.
You don't think they're tough?
They're usually not. But the thing is to change their sound to be mainstream is, I guess you want to elaborate.
Well, and become considered mainstream.
Okay,
but
at
least how he put it.
Okay, with that being said, the reason I think you need to elaborate on that, I think it depends on how you want to label it. For example, a band like Tiamat, you know what I'm saying? Started off as Treblinka, then they did the first Tiamat album, and then they did God knows what by their fucking fifth album. You know what I mean? Third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah.
You're like, that to me is unacceptable. That's not the tough guy mentality ripping on it. That's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? But somebody might say, for example, let's use Deicide's example. I've used them just because they got a new album coming out next week, right?
Right.
To me, they haven't really changed. Yeah, they don't sound like the first album, but it's the same genre. It's still the same, you know what I mean? It's still, Christ hating. It's still blast beats. It's still growling vocals. But I mean, then you're allowed to like, the first two albums, not like the rest. That's fine.
Right.
But to sit there and say that they changed their sound to be more commercialized, to me, that's ignorant. I was like, how do you figure? Because they don't sound exactly the same 30 years fucking later. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, like I said, I like every Carcass record, but I see why people hate Swan Song. I see why people hate Heartwork. It's like, yeah, you guys totally changed. That's different.
Right.
It's completely fucking different. So completely changing to become mainstream, I think is unacceptable, and I don't like that. But if you just become mainstream because you kept doing what you're doing and your sound changes a little bit, but you're staying true to your genre, I don't see anything wrong with that, because in that case, you just honestly throw Motorhead in the garbage can, throw Iron Maiden in the garbage can, throw all those bands in the garbage. You know what I mean? Because those bands, the first Motorhead doesn't sound like the last one, but it's the same idea, right?
I would think,
exactly,
right?
But they got very, they got mainstream, but it's like what they stuck true and they just got, they just got popular. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, they didn't intentionally change, or like everybody knows, Metallica purposely changed their fucking sound and selling out. That's different. That I don't like. So I think that needs to be clarified because some people like, especially like I said, the black metal tough guys lump both in the same category. Yep, that mainstream sold out. Like they just like, dude, there's the real ignorant tough guys. They'll throw like a band like Toxic Holocaust in that category. It's like they're exact same fucking band. You're allowed to not like the last two and like the first because you didn't like the songs. That's fine. But to sit there and say that they changed their style and sold out, that's just ignorant. Like that doesn't even make sense. It's like it's the same fucking thing. Just because he got popular doesn't mean that's nothing bad on his will. He didn't fucking change his style or his, what he was set out to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where the difference is. I think so. Before answering the question on yourself, I think at least people watch. I just want them to understand that there is a difference because I honestly, you meet those people and they don't recognize the difference. I'm like, I don't fucking see how you can't. But
well, I don't really think for the first off, I am having major fucking audio issues. Before I get into what I'm about to say, so everybody's saying J-Dawg's audio sounds like shit. Well, how does mine sound? Can you hear me? I'm reading that J-Dawg should be sounding just fine. I mean, you know what, man? Put that mic really fucking close to your mic.
It feels like I got a fucking dick in my mouth, but yeah.
Well, the dick's gonna have to be lodged in the mouth.
God damn.
All right, how's that working, everybody? Please, let's get that out of the way before we get any further, because I don't like problems. Good, yes. Yours is fine, Reaper. Good, crisp. Oh, hey, Dirk.
Well, that's your boy.
Sure. We're talking about dicks and mouth.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah. From that awesome band Cemetery Piss. All right. Where do you go? How do you get from an audio tech to... Okay, so, yes. Okay, so going back to the having 20 years and, doing just a demo. Like first and foremost, if you're just doing that for the sake of doing it, go fuck yourself because, you know what I mean? Like, it should just...
Doing what? Just
like,
what?
I'm going to be cool and I'm just going to do a demo and just,
honestly, I think the guys that do that, there's a... You can look it up. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it was more so when I had to look for images back in the day for HH.
Yeah.
A lot of the obscure tapes we'd get, like obscure black metal. Those type of bands just doing it just to do it. It's I don't think they ever go anywhere. Like, and they don't get the you know what I'm saying? Because I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
Yeah.
Those type of bands, and like I said, it is usually black metal. You ever know it's usually black metal on a lot of things. But anyways, especially with that, they're trying to reach a status of bands like Vlad Tepes, Mutilation, that those bands that have that really obscure status, but actually did recordings.
Yeah.
So they're trying to outdo them, only do a couple demo tapes and really obscure and really no information about them. But every time they do it, you literally you're looking it up and you get when I was looking for images and shit, it's just a bunch of nobodies. Nobody cares. It just seems like, honestly, I don't think you could purposely do it. No. It either happens or it doesn't. And obviously the greats that did it, that people look up to and they didn't know, is like a band for example, Necrovore. Did one demo, kind of two if you count that 88. That's the same fucking songs. That's debatable. And then there's that partial live show that's floating around. It's all been bootlegged several times. But that's basically how you get the recordings. But everybody, hails them, and understandably so. Incubus, God Died on His Knees was another one. But those bands didn't purpose to do that. They probably were meaning to do an album or so, just didn't work out. Maybe they got, got somebody pregnant or got married or got arrested or died. No, honestly, that's usually what happens. Yeah.
Pregnant, married, or dead.
yeah. So, and then, threw in the towel and couldn't do the band no more. So... I don't think that was an intention. We're doing one demo, we're gonna be obscure. That's not what they were thinking.
That's in there.
Yeah. Now with these these 16-year-old black metal tough guy kids, they have that and it doesn't work. They never reach the status of a Necrovore. I can't think of one.
Well, I think that's definitely the very parameter or whatever you want to call it is definitely like you said. You can't call it. You can't be
No,
cult and cool if you're going to be that band
If that's what your
that is
intention
just one album, a demo, or whatever, basically of small output, just a small discography.
I think
you
you
just
can-
luck out in that.
Yeah,
sense.
you luck out, and then that's the thing. Is you can. It's what the scene. What did I say before? The scene claims you as that. You know what I mean? Like, no, I mean, Necrovore didn't push their thing and become popular and become an underground classic, cult classic. The scene chose that. They just wanted it, you know what I mean? Including myself, I just think that's a good
for
demo.
sure. Yeah.
And they didn't. It's not because anything they're doing other than just writing their own music. They didn't set out to just do. They would have never known,
Right. And well, I'm glad you said that. They just set out and just did it, because I think when you at least put all the bands that are of that, one album or two albums, small discography, cult status, let's just call it. It is definitely the recordings that are when a band was just doing it. So when you get to the latter, the mainstream one, and that's bad, or they're now successful and they level that way, and why people even kind of seem to not like it as much is because it lost just doing it. Would you say that that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, because I mean they changed for like I said, either the right reasons or the wrong reasons. I mean, the wrong reasons is just to change to become mainstream. Right reasons is that's what they truly were set out to do. And it's like I said, it's basically like a Motorhead example, a Deicide example. It's the same thing. It's just maybe a little bit more polished and just matured, but same style of music. Nothing wrong with that. But the thing is with all these bands, like, how many people were out there that loved the Necrovore demo? Like, man, I wish they would have done an album or so. Really? Do you really wish they did? Because let's name a band that was obscure that I always loved. Let's take a band like Goraphobia.
Yeah.
Loved their 7-inch, which the demo, and then there was a live recording out there. Loved it. They come back and they did nothing. That's all they needed. They come back and they do an album all right, and it wasn't good. So it sounds
Sorry,
like
Goraphobia?
I didn't like it. You know what I mean? But I mean, they were being asked for because it was whatever, Chris from Bloodstorm, doing that band, and a lot of people, do another Goraphobia. And on paper, I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. But in the back of my mind, not going to sound the same. And it didn't. And it wasn't the same.
Well, that was when I did an interview on Hellcast. So fuck yeah, check it out.
So be careful what you wish for.
Well, Scott Carlson from Repulsion was saying that how they definitely wouldn't come back. So it's just like, because even especially Repulsion as an example, they when they did the whatever Helga Lost Her Head is on.
The Excruciation EP. It's great. The Excruciation, a lot of people don't realize this. I didn't for years either until Relapse did that double disc release, which is their whole discography, which is great. If you don't have that, go get it. Just you don't even let this evening end before you go get that. Gotta have that. Anyways, the Excruciation 7-inch was actually like a demo, and it was 4 songs. When it got released as a 7-inch, it's only 2 tracks. So there were songs that were cut.
I'm just laughing at the comment back of when I said pregnant, married, and dead. He said pregnant, married, or dead, all the same thing.
Yeah,
that's a real.
That's how you look at
that's
it.
a real optimistic attitude. But I guess it is.
No, like the fourth
Al
one,
Bundy, I guess. Really,
pregnant, married, or dead. It's also jail.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because that was a line around HH joking around. Won't get into it's a long story, but we're like, he's either dead or in jail. Yeah. And I was saying it seriously. I mean, I was saying it because it's kind of funny, but I was being serious. But you know what's funny about all that? If you ever think about it, I used to have more of an interest, maybe like in my teenage years when I was bored, about reading about like serial killers and shit.
Yeah.
And it's still somewhat interesting, but I don't sit there and read shit. So, I mean, but the obvious interest there. But for example, when you have an active serial killer, right? And it becomes inactive for years, 10, 20 years. What is it that they haven't found the guy? What is it they say?
Oh, they think he's dead.
Dead or in jail. Yeah. Dead or in jail. And then say they got it. Well, I'm like, it's why, because think about it. If you're totally doing something like what we were talking about with HH, we have this person that's totally active and then inactive. I'm like, dead or in jail. Like, what else would it be? He's going on for years and years, and like you hear nothing. You don't even hear anything. Oh, dead or in jail. Like, what else would you be?
Well, and I think that's definitely one of the cases.
There is other scenarios, but those are the two most likely. And the fact of the matter is, we have had that happen. Like, haven't heard from someone, so their packs were getting returned. We contact them, and you get called. Oh yeah, he's dead. Yeah, that's what I tell you.
Please stop sending this awful music here. He's dead. Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I wasn't sending.
But I'm just saying. Music. So like, I said it kind of a joke, but semi-serious, and people like saying, "Oh, J-dawg being kind of hard and kind of cold." I'm like, it's just kind of the truth if you really think about it.
Well, Oh man. But getting back on topic to that though, is there a better to be cult and basically live on? So see, there's a really weird. This is an interesting topic in that when you slice it this way, that when you're kind of sort of a band that has become, bigger, the sound changed, whatever reason or why that happened.
Well, let's say this. Let's throw this out there. Why is it? And I'm not saying this before I piss anybody off, because I'm sure I will.
I'm getting pretty pissed.
Is why is it that the band's got to be really obscure to be cult? Like, for example, why can't a band like Cannibal Corpse be cult? Have a cult following? Saying just at least they have a really true following. Yes, of course you're going to get outsiders and posers that listen, but honestly, you think Necrovore doesn't have any outsider posers listen to them? For sure they do. But another example, they kind of throw themselves in there. They call them the Fiend Club or whatever, which all kinds of douchebags go there.
Oh yeah,
it's the Misfits. Why can't you say they have a cult following? In a sense, they kind of do. Yes, they have tons of people. You just want to go spraying at their shows at there for sure. And I've been there, so I know. But I could see where the truth could come. Especially the old fans have been listening forever.
Yeah,
that's your fans. Why can't those be considered have a cult following? Why do you got to be just a demo tape and in the fucking ground and no one's ever heard of them? The only people that know is who's got the goddamn singer's phone number, knowing about the band. What is that? Why is that the only cult thing? Why can't a band say even Possessed? 3 albums, everybody knows that. It was a cult band. Say you're talking to your goddamn grandma who knows nothing about Possessed. To her, that'd be kind of cult.
My grandma always knew tons of stuff about Possessed.
No, but you know what I mean? To her, that she'd kind of consider that, you know what I mean? If she kind of got the gist of them, if you're talking about them, and if she heard it, she's like, this is some cult shit. I could see some old granny thinking that. And understandably kind of so. But us looking at Possessed, everybody likes Possessed. What the fuck? That's not cult. But in the sense of the word, I can see why you could argue that it would be.
Well, okay, so I want to go back to what's better and what's worse, but I first want to comment, and you just said, why can't Cannibal Corpse be cult or so on and so forth? Why can't something that's mainstream be cult? And I think it's just the very meaning of the word, probably, that differentiates that and dictates that. But I think there really is definitely no better or worse. I mean, in a lot of ways, you'd want to be the mainstream band, right? But I think that if you understand the difference of that, then you're definitely probably just a very diehard music fan, because it is, per the language, it is what cult means that gives it that differentiation. And so definitely blanketed, though, that does not mean that it's better to be mainstream or cult. However, it has its advantages. And I think, from a cult standpoint, you're kind of going to breed a fan base that are just going to be people that absolutely love your music for the most part, where in the mainstream sense, it could be that, because I think Iron Maiden's a wider than day example that I think a lot of people are just fly by night, but there's definitely love it.
Yeah.
And of course, there's going to be that for a lot of mainstream, but let's just go non-metal and say a band like Nickelback. You ain't going to love that. That's going to be a flavor of the decade or the generation.
Exactly. That's everybody's going to look back. Another huge mainstream band that that you have their diehards and then that stood the test of time, but everybody can at least somewhat appreciate it, even the people that don't like them, is like AC/DC.
Yeah.
Because that's a solid music band. I mean, some shitty ass Nickelback. I mean, that's...
Well, it's a bad example, but it's so awful and blatantly huge that you can understand where I'm going with it. Where in a metal sense, it's harder to say, because that's one of the aspects too in this conversation too, is the music you're talking about. And we're talking about metal, so of course it's all going to kind of vary and be slightly the same. But I think it's also subgenre based, because a black metal band is definitely going to have, and I'm going to even say out the gate, more of a cult following when it's a cult following than a thrash band.
Yeah, because they're more for example, the cool thing about black metal is that I do like about it is that the fans, again, I know there's posers and everything, so sway this to say that every fan, oh, he likes mutilation, so he's a black metal fan. No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that the fans that are in it are generally more hardcore and really into it than a thrash fan is. And what I mean by that is, like, say, you get somebody that legitimately likes, like, Exodus, any of the Exodus album, even later Exodus, whatever, some thrash metal, but he's not like, he's just putting on his fucking shirt for the day and doing his 9 to 5, and he just listens to that in the background. You know what I mean? And he truly does enjoy it. Like, he's not a poser. He actually likes it. A black metal fan, he's like, he's going to go out and buy the LP. He's going to go buy the reissue. He wants the shirts. You know what I mean? It's more the lifestyle thing. That whole, like I said, metal's a lifestyle for a lot of people, including myself to a degree. Maybe not as extreme as some of these people, but it is. But black metal is going to stem more of that lifestyle base than like thrash metal would. It just does. It's probably the most out of all of them, even more so than death metal and stuff. Even though they all have it, like you got those die-hard thrashers, you have it in all of them. I'm not saying that, but black metal definitely has more the lifestyle aspect to it. That's why it looks more cult, is because the down and dirty is they're more into it.
Okay, I think to really assess it, because Dredd said, and Dredd, I kind of challenge you in this, or at least throw this at you to retort. You said, to a grandma, Slayer might be considered cult. I don't really think it takes the grandma to think that. I really think that that's a prime example of a larger-than-life band that does have a cult following. I
was going to say,
because they kind
actually,
of are.
They kind of do, and the only reason why they get a pass, and don't get me wrong, like, this guy's probably born like, you can't say it about Slayer. Y'all trust me, like, when Slayer did their final reunion show, the only reason I didn't go, well, not the only reason, but the main reason I didn't go is because the fan base there, I just want to fucking go in there with a goddamn automatic weapon. I can't stand most of those people. But what I do like about Slayer fans, like, they have some die hard fucking fans that are badass. But they also attract a lot of those juggalo douchebags that have no business even being there. So those are the problems. Now the ones that are cutting Slayer in their arms and shit, hey, those guys are all cool by me.
That's what I'm saying. That's a cult.
Correct.
Like
that's
a really cult.
Even just right down to like, for example, like Slayer has a lot of bootleg releases and stuff like that, and those fuckers are freaks. Like, they'll pay top dollar. Just look on eBay. They'll pay top dollar for it because they really want it. Like, they really like that band. That is a cult following.
Exactly.
It's just someone like Dredd, he's getting a little skewed, which it's very easy to do, because there's a lot of D-bags that listen to him too.
Well, right.
So.
And so I think that's kind of sort of where this cult mainstream thing, well, when you're mainstream, where it's not necessarily bad and you just kind of sort of obtained it through doing your thing, is because you're kind of like a Slayer. You're one of those bands that you're maintaining this cult following, people willing to cut your name into their arm that love you so much, but you're really kind of progressing at the same time. You're changing your sound.
Yeah, but honestly,
you're doing it for whatever reason or another. Truth
be told, with Slayer, majority of their albums I don't like.
Yeah.
I only like the first 3. Even South of Heaven's kind of boring for me, but I love the first 3. Big fan of the first 3. But they're a band that I always still had a degree of respect for. Even their shitty albums, like the ones that everyone thinks are shitty, like Diabolus and Musica and stuff, because they kind of stood the test of time, and they were just kind of doing their own thing. Yeah, they did change, but it's like, I don't know. They just kind of always held that to where, like, they were okay by me. The band themselves, the fan base can't fucking stand it. Other than but the fan base, I'm talking about the guys in the Manson, Tool, and then they like Slayer on the side, and then they're going to Slipknot the next day. Those people can't fucking stand them. Just, you can drop a fucking Zyklon beam bomb on them. Can't stand them. Hate them. But the actual band themselves,
you people are hated.
Yeah, Carrie and Tom and all them. I don't have any no problem with them whatsoever.
Well, so we've definitely addressed the mainstream that kind of, dwindle and have the cult status, and I think that's what makes them respectably mainstream. But then there is, like, Alexander did or didn't propose, but I'm going to say it anyway, that you have the unrespectable mainstream. The bands that kind of just, I guess, set out to do it and will... Because mainstream doesn't mean sell out in a bad sense. Selling out is either giving up, giving in, or filling a whole room.
I think the best example of that, the best example is Metallica. Because I remember it's funny because
do we have to talk about them though?
no, we don't. But I think it's the best example for selling out intentionally changing. That's why.
Is it really?
When I remember, I'm sure you remember that when we were hanging out at our grandparents and they were in the newspaper when that Load album came out, that terrible Load album. And they cut their hair and they were getting their little awards and they're in their suits. That's unacceptable because, for example, like a band that obviously everybody knows I love, Cannibal. I guarantee you that if they got recognized by the mainstream, like the mainstream, like fucking on MTV and all that crap.
They did.
No, but I'm not in the sense where they're getting, you know what I'm saying? Like Metallica. They wouldn't be cutting their hair and wearing suits and shit and fucking buffering up. They would just show up in an immolation shirt and fucking thanks for the reward and, you know, that shake their hand and that's it. Metallica, you could, and the music was so changed. It was so tame. You Crown King nothing, and just as the bad music. It was just so obvious that's selling out. And I just think everybody listens probably like, duh. I'm just saying, I think that's the primo example.
Yeah, you need to if you're going to have this conversation, you need to draw the line in what is the difference, because selling out when you're giving in to make a buck,
totally did.
That's a bad thing. That's bad.
That's what I'm saying. They did.
But they do have the cult at the same time.
They do because they are they're a long going band and they started at a time where they did definitely make a they didn't. I mean, the real dick sucking fanboys of them, that even if they are true fans, that have been like listening to them, let's just say even since like I've been listening since Injustice for All. It's like, oh, that is quite a while. I won't give you that, but then you get some of those guys, like you'll bump into them. That's like their favorite band, which whatever, that's fine. But they'll be like, yeah, they created thrash. It's like, well, they're in the early days of thrash, but they didn't create thrash. You know what I'm saying? But I will give them credit. They were they made a mark and did a lot. I'm not saying they didn't, but don't blow things out of proportion. That's like saying fucking, let's give us credit what you just didn't. That's like, that's like saying fucking somebody invented the light bulb that didn't. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he was around at the time when it came out, but he wasn't the one that did it.
Don't be that guy. I was there. But okay. I think that it is better to be the band that put out 2 demos, 1 album, small discography, that was cult, and maybe like a lot of things cult, it meant nothing when it came out, no one gave a shit, and then it went on and people found it and loved it, and that's because that's where a lot of that stuff happens. It takes a while, and there's something about that. But when you're the band and you're sitting there and you're putting all your heart and soul into it, and then it does come out and no one does give a flying fuck, that's definitely where I would say the mainstream thing, as the artist, seems to be the more appealing thing, the objective to set your sights for. But that's not to say in that scenario that mainstream is bad. And if you're going to even be labeled it, or if you're going to be kind of looked down, because then people are just going to be mad at you for, being in a crowd of
well, yeah, because I mean,
technically
speaking, and this might surprise a lot of people, I don't think mainstream is bad. It's just the stuff in the mainstream just so happens to be bad that they've gone apart. But the idea of it, I mean, honestly, like, why can't a band like, I don't even just say because I don't like all their albums. Obviously, I like the first 2 pretty much. Let's say a band like Overkill. Why can't those albums be mainstream? I'm not saying I want them to be, but think about it. If these people truly like early Slayer, that say they do, that truly like early Megadeth and early Metallica, and who's some other real popular ones that early Anthrax, why can't the first 2 Overkills be just as popular? I mean, you theoretically, it's the same idea. They'd still like it. Now, would that all of a sudden make those Overkill albums shitty? Well, not I'd still gonna like them. So that doesn't mean that's bad. It's just when you think mainstream and what comes on the radio, it's just junk. I think a lot of people, that's the problem with the metal scene. One of the problems is, I've said it before, is a lot of people get into this because they're just trying to rebel. They're not truly into music. Well, not all of them, I'm saying, but a lot of people are. So what it is, they're purposely not liking it because it is mainstream. I like music. If I like it, I'll like it. It's just the mainstream shit just is garbage for the most part. But there's some good stuff. I mean, I like AC/DC. That's mainstream as fuck.
Well, one thing of it, too, is that you're wearing a Disgorge shirt. And a band like Disgorge, they're going to have to do a lot of changing than the average Joe Blow band to become mainstream because there's no effing way that you're wearing. Well, you can't really see it. Flap that up a little bit towards the.
With the
the
classic album cover.
Yeah, well, maybe not everyone might know that.
Yeah,
so they're going to have to do a lot to really compensate them. So compensate's a good word.
No, there's
compensate themselves, their sound.
But that's not what they're going for. What did I say?
Well, right. But if they were like that, is because this
that's unacceptable.
Is a cult band.
That's unacceptable. Well,
no.
What it is, a better word is I think, like I said, technically you can say the Misfits is a cult band by the term of it, the fan base and their
mainstream cult.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't consider Disgorge necessarily cult or not cult band. What I consider it is an extreme music. Remember we're talking about extreme music? The reason this will never be popular is because most people will not like it. They cannot like it.
Oh, I see.
They can't get it.
Yeah.
It is extreme. And I admit, and the thing is, you're not like a wimp or something if you don't. I understand it's not for everybody. I just so happen to like a lot of that stuff because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
But I do think there's.
But I get it. It's not for everybody. But that's I get why the fucking 45-year-old soccer mom that's driving her kids to practice ain't listening to Disgorge. I understand. I'm fully aware why.
Wouldn't that be a sight?
Yeah.
That if you saw all those little kids, those little stick figure things that parents put on the back of
They got Disgorge logo too.
Yeah. Or worse, like you pull up to the car and like the mom's in the back, like, and then you just got Disgorge. That would be fucking great.
I'd give the Tony the Tiger thumbs up to that driving by.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Hope did anybody get the thumbnail? That's fine, folks. There, the greats. But better yet. So we were talking about becoming the greats. How do you become a great in this scenario that Alexander, proposed?
I don't think honestly, every band probably thinks that they're gonna be once they start off. Like they're gonna be the next greatest fucking thing.
I think you can't. I think you kind of sort of. I was about to just say you can't think that way, which actually I'm retracting that statement. I think you have to think.
Yeah, you want to be positive.
In a lot of ways.
That's fine, but just be realistic. But honestly, again, I think it just comes to the thing is time and what the scene claims you as. You know what I mean? Because there is certain bands that I think is undisputable are the greats, but they get really overlooked. You know what I mean? Because just popularity is not going to say it all, but popularity to an extent is going to kind of say it. You know what I mean? Like, it just is to a degree where you got like, for example, like you got like most people, if they'd say that I like thrash, I'm not talking about the guy that thinks Metallica created thrash. I'm not talking about that D-bag. I'm talking about people that are generally into it. Most people like the first few Destruction albums. Would you say it's fair to say?
I would hope so.
I would say if someone's truly into thrash, I would say 95% of the time they will like those albums, right?
Yeah.
That makes them up with the greats because it's just inedible. Like you can almost like them, and that doesn't make you a poser. It's just even myself, I like them. It's just it's hard not to. If you like that style of music, you're gonna like them. That puts you at the greats. Is when every true fan, for the most part, agrees on it.
Yeah, respects and knows or appreciates. Mm-hmm. That is what makes you great. You have to be. There's a respect value, and that's not just in music.
I think a better way of putting it, what really makes you up there the greats is whatever genre you are, heavy metal, death metal, thrash metal, whatever genre that you are playing, if you could say without a shadow of a doubt, take every true fan, not the fucking guy that thinks Kill 'Em All is the first thrash album, not that guy, the true fan. If you say across the board of all true fans of that genre, thrash, death metal, whatever genre you are, 85 to 90% of the time, you can say without a shadow of a doubt, put a fucking Benjamin on the table every time that they're going to say, yes, I like that. That puts you the greats. Because that true fan base of that style is telling that. They're claiming you as that.
Well, and to be great in any scenario, like I was saying, it's not musical, it's not theatrical.
No, it's not.
It's just truly the essence of the word.
Because someone could argue that Possessed Seven Churches sucks because musicianship shit like that. But I don't think that the fucking thrash / death metal, whatever you want to consider that, I consider that an 80s death metal album. Some people consider it thrash, but whatever. Right. Let's just call it a metal record so there's no confusion. I don't think the metal scene's. I think the metal scene's going to highly disagree with you. They're going to say that's the fucking greats.
I agree. I agree with that.
But I'm just saying you could argue. That's what I'm saying. You could argue in a sense. That's why I think the defining thing, what makes you the greats, is what the true fans of that genre claim you as. The fans will say.
Well, then
so put your personal opinions aside and stuff like that. Just do it if you're curious about anybody. Do a survey. Go to like Maryland Death Fest, any of those big festivals, and go around asking everybody. I challenge you. Go to fucking like Maryland Death Fest and go around. Let's just use Possessed Seven Churches. Every person you see there, and I'm not talking about the fucking janitor or the guy, goddamn,
the janitor. It's got to be the janitor.
The janitor, the security guy, or the guy serving hot dogs. I'm talking about the people that bought a ticket, like coming in with a ticket, survey each one of them. Do you like possess 7 churches? Yep. So I have yes side, no side. Tally it up. I guarantee you, 90% of the people are going to say yes. Or so you have 3 sides: yes, no, and also never heard it. Because you're gonna get that occasional. I came here with my boyfriend that never heard it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna get a couple of those because she's just there. Which, whatever. But you know what I'm saying. But I guarantee you're gonna have 90% yeses. That makes them one of the greats.
Okay. So, well, first off, Dirk said the only destruction he's really into is Sentence of Death.
It's great. But he still likes something by him.
Yeah. But he said the only album, which Dirk, sorry man, that is an EP.
Well, that's but again, when I say the first 1 to 4 albums, I guarantee 90% of people are going to like all of them or something in there. Would you say it's safe to say?
Yeah, of course. I got a down camera, so I'm
how the hell do you put on Curse the Gods and be like, this is a sucky ass song?
I don't know, Dirk. How did you say that was a sucky ass song? Because that was on Eternal Devastation.
Well, no. I like that song. I just didn't like the rest of the album. I like that song though.
I mean, yeah. Whoa. I mean, it was pretty good. It was, but so all right. So we got all the greatness out of the way. We need to establish now. Well, the greatness. The maintenance of it, because the difference of mainstream shit is not having respectable greatness.
What do you mean?
You're not a respected great act. So, like, if you're a politician or a king or something, you're not a great king if you're Hitler. You're not a great fucking leader. But if you're Kennedy, I guess. You know what I mean? You're deemed as greatness.
They are, because that's the media feeds you. I would argue that none of it's great when the media.
But just go on with my.
No, what I'm saying, that's where music. Well, the reason why it's not great is because it's almost like, and I'm sure I'm kind of wrong with the coming of this music mainstream. It's just, I'm sure you kind of know where I'm coming from though. It's just like it's almost like it was selected by fucking politics. Almost like it was pushed in there. This is what we're gonna sell. This is what the people need to like. This is what we want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know it's not that, but that's kind of how it comes off. It's just forced. Like, for example, let's just say who's somebody they play on the radio that just sucks total ass that everybody knows. What's an example?
I don't know.
What's something? Anything. Lady Gaga.
Okay.
They play Lady Gaga.
I love that shit.
But anyway, so I don't know because I don't listen to the radio, but I'd be willing to bet it's anything. I bet it's anything like rock and roll bands. For example, like just any rock and roll bands, they probably only play. So say she has full records, however many records she has. How many of her songs off each record they play? Probably 1 or 2. Why the fuck are you only playing 1 or 2 songs? If you're truly fans of this, why aren't you playing all the songs? Like switching it up. Monday this song, Tuesday's that song, Wednesday, you know what I mean? Said the same one over and over. Because there's people aren't, A, they're not music fans, and B, they're just, it's like I said, it's forced. And then and here's what they're going to say. Here's what the politicians or whatever you want to call them in that industry are going to say. They're like, well, because those were the hits. Well, who decided what their hits? Who's to say that those are the fucking hits? Like, you didn't give the people the chance. You just put it on the radio.
You're right. I mean, I disagree that it's all just crammed down everybody's throat. I mean, there's definitely there's definitely some
working up the ladder.
Yeah, well, or that they truly achieved a hit song that was definitely of the people.
Could be, but I have my theory too, especially when it comes to teenage.
But I think how
much dick do they have to suck to get to that top?
Well, okay, but I mean, but we have established the mainstream suckage. So to move on conversationally, we need to establish that once you're deemed great, you need to maintain your throne of greatness.
At least stay in the same fucking realm of what the fuck you're doing.
Okay, and I think that greatness does not always that greatness isn't always maintained because of music. It's maintained with so many different variables, and a lot of them is like merchandising and how it's managed. Not just merchandise, how your band is managed and how, you really throw yourself out there. Because if you think about it, Necrovore, doesn't have but you think about it, you can't really become great unless you are really just everywhere, because you're almost not even you need to have the awareness to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes people claim it, and I thought it was kind of annoying, and I'm cool with the band. I mean, I like some of their stuff and shit. I'm not a huge fan, but I do like some of their material. But like, I remember when the band Ghost started, I mean, they weren't like everywhere. Just that album came out and it just blew up. That first album.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't believe it when we were stocked. I'm like, who is this band? Like, I never even heard of them until we got them in. That was like, what, 09, 2010, something around there?
I don't remember. 2010, I believe.
Somewhere around there. And I remember we got them as a brand new thing, and we just had to keep restocking. He couldn't keep on the shelves. I'm like, who? I don't even know what the fuck this band is. Like, I never even heard of them. And so that's, you know what I mean? The scene kind of claimed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I whether they liked it or not, I think it was just inedible.
Well, before we kind of get into more examples, I would definitely want to encourage the audience, the commenting audience, to chime in. Is what do you think is a component of maintenance and greatness? Do you think that it's always just quality music, or do you kind of agree with me that, you know, it's kind of how you manage it? Be that, do you have a manager that gets you on major shows that you're playing with the latest and the greatest artists, that, you know, that's your exposure? Or if you're like where I'm kind of going to go here when we get back after this little plug here, in that, you know, a band like Iron Maiden's in everybody's vocabulary, in a lot of ways their collection, you know, because there's a playing card from a lot of bands in the 80s, and definitely for them, or that they have a long box. So like, what the hell do you do with the long box other than get rid of it, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of different merchandise and various details, and details maybe I didn't think of because you've got it. So, you know, hopefully you kind of know where I'm going. Does that make sense, where I'm going with it? Okay. Well,
all the other stuff is just once you like the music, keep the fans happy.
Yeah.
Just to, you know, to entertain them. But hey, I don't need to be happy if the fucking shit sucks.
Well, that's why I say it's maintenance. But before we get into that, let's maintain some Hellcast greatness of informing you of some awesome new music, and that is Cemetery Urn, Barbaric Retribution. I had to didn't remember. J-Dawg has heard this.
Yeah,
right?
Cemetery Urn. Well, I was a fan of them from day one, and when I heard them, yeah, that is the way I heard them. Is they played Cleveland here? What was that? 8 years ago.
Cemetery Urn playing Cleveland?
Yeah.
Really? Oh wow.
They played at the Foundry. I think it was the Foundry.
Well, nonetheless, they played Cleveland.
I thought the name was. I thought the name was cool. The logo was good. I liked them live. I thought it's just pure because they're from Australia.
Well, yeah, that's why I was surprised they played.
I don't remember if it was when remember the Gospel of Horns played. I don't remember if it was with them or what the tour was. It definitely wasn't with Portal. I remember when Portal came, it wasn't with them. But remember when Gospel of Horns played here?
Yeah. Okay. Well, who cares when it was? But, so you saw.
No, but I kind of think Chase would remember. Like, I don't remember. Yeah, exactly. How did they play this? It's kind of weird that they did it because they just had their first record out, and we did the first two on just LP. I forget what label did the CDs, and then the third album, which just came out like last year. So this one came out really fast. We did CD and LP, and then this one CD and LP. LP's not here yet. I thought Cemetery Urn was, especially from Australia, was I liked it a lot because it was more 90s death metal, which you don't usually hear that. You hear the Destroyer 666 type stuff, the more a little bit of melody, Black and Death type stuff. This is just pure like death metal. And but a little bit more raw. I kind of trying to keep it to like, not like Blasphemy and was like, you know how like Corpse molestation from back in the day in Australia. This is like the guy from there is it's that idea, but doesn't sound like that. You know what I'm saying? It's more so like it doesn't sound like Suffocation, but it's kind of like that. More like death metal. But just like more kind of like raw and to the point, and which is a lot of stuff that I like. And I thought it was cool that it was from Australia, and really enjoyed their albums. And this is the newest one, and this one's been. I think people are taking to this one more than the self-titled. I'd like to know. Chase would know the reason. I don't know why how they put this one out so fast afterwards. So I really like the cover art too. Like I said, I've always loved the logo. That was the thing that attracted me to, like, other than seeing them live, saw the logo and the name. I was just like, something really just attracted to me then, and automatically went out and got the, well, like I said, it was just the one album out at the time.
Guys, I have no idea what the hell is going on with audio with J-Dawg. Everything looks just fine. He's going into this, so listen to the other episode. I can definitely say that I am not going to vouch for Focusrite and OBS. They fucking suck.
What other episode?
Just when the episode posts. And
so it should be louder?
Yeah, no, because it's going in my board just fine.
Oh, so you're going to replug it.
I don't know what the fuck's happening. I'm seeing it. It looks like you're freezing, though, sometimes.
But is it when you plug it, when you post it, does it go just audio only, or is it going to be the footage as well?
Both. You can watch the full live stream. That's going to be,
but then the other one's just the audio, right?
It's just going to be the audio. It's hacked down to a nice 1 hour episode.
That's on Hellcast.net, right?
Yes, Hellcast.net. Yeah. So all the audio is great again. No worries. All right. Well, he keeps moving the mic and it throws signal off.
Well, nonetheless,
let's stop moving the fucking mic.
I do. This fucking thing's held up by Scotch tape. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Just don't move it. I haven't moved mine. I'm moving the most.
Yeah, it's because you got the fresh off the press one. I got this pile of dog shit.
I don't even
have
a pop screen. I should have shit audio. But all right, whatever. I don't know. Sorry, guys. And I can say that from a YouTuber standpoint because there's a crowd here. I always hate when those YouTubers like, "Hey guys," it's like you're talking to one guy right now. There's no guy. Hey guys. But anyway, so
Cemetery Urn, good album.
Cemetery Urn, Barbaric Retribution. We're going to get some Barbaric Retribution going on this live stream in the future, but here it is, available now.
Shirts and CDs are available now. LPs, well, they're out whenever, when they get here.
Hell's Headbangers. Link in the description of this episode and live stream. So, getting back to it, though, we were talking about what makes the one of the greats, how to be a great metal band, and it's been said, you could be cult, and actually, it hasn't been said. Can you be cult and mainstream, a respectable mainstream, and be great?
I think you can. I mean, but it's going to be few and far, and there's going to be lots of people that are going to disagree with that. Because, like I said, I use the Misfits as an example, just because their whole, kind of like you said, the merchandising, their whole Fiend Club thing, and the fact that they have I know for a fact they have fans from even like the early '80s, that still support them and follow them. But then you get the little fucking the kids and shit that whatever. But it comes with the territory. But that part's annoying. But I would think a band like that would. It's kind of stay true to their style. I mean, yes, of course, they, with their lineup changes, like, oh, the Michael Graves stuff don't sound like blah, 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 blah. It's still the same fucking idea, guys. I mean, you're allowed not to like it, but it's still the same fucking idea. So I think it could be done, but it's few and far in between. Another band that comes to mind, really, like I said, is AC/DC. The reason being is because, dude, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is their shit's pretty much all this fucking same.
Yeah, but I still saying, man, there's if you think, okay, so there's a band that would be kind of more of the cut and dry. I want to stick with the Cannibal Corpse. I don't want to be sitting there with the hard rock and shitty ass Metallica examples. But they got a gimmick. So Cannibal Corpse, do they really have a gimmick? Not entirely. They kind of just go up there.
I just think the gore lyrics is kind of their thing because
the gimmick is less gimmicky.
Yeah, exactly. Because think about it. I mean, how many other bands that started singing about that are still around? Fuck, it took Carcass by their fourth album. There's No Love Lost. I mean, come on, guys. What the fuck is that?
And see, now Carcass would be up there with the greats, but they didn't entirely maintain. Correct. They kind of left and went.
But think about it, that's like, so Recaputrefaction was 88, and Heartwork was, if I'm not mistaken, 94, I believe. That's in 6 years. Take Cannibal. The first album was 1990, Eat Back to Life. We're in 2018, and they're still singing about the exact same shit. Same style of music. You can't deny that. Not be, well, they're not without Barnes. Okay, so it's a different fucking frontman. Okay, it's a little bit better production. What the fuck do you expect from a band that's sold over 100,000 albums?
Well, right.
Of course it's going to be better. But as far as better production and stuff like that, clear. Now, if you like that or not, that's your opinion. But it's the same goddamn thing.
But what do you have to say about, like, before we went and talked about Cemetery Urn? Yesterday I was rearranging Which, by the way, like this live stream right now, it's got a lot of the weirdness and all that. Like this is literally like the first time we just ran it with. I mean, there was the other time where we introduced this nicer software and blah 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 blah. But I introduced now a third camera, got that going, got some fucking bullshit going on with the audio. But otherwise, it's just peachy, and we'll have shit on the walls and stuff. So this will be looking really nice. And yes, Dread, you are precisely right. If you buy some cemetery urn, that'll definitely help. But if you grab some shit from Reaper Metal, that'll really help, because I'm the one more so forking the dough for this shit. Granted, Hell's obviously sponsors this and does a really good job and is very helpful in that sense. But that kind of more so just pays that as worthwhile doing rather than extra to do these extracurricular things. So yeah, ReaperMetalProductions.com and go to the Bandcamp or blah blah blah. Fuck, Hell's has it, Cyst and Wolf's Blood and shit like that. Grab that there. Links are for the description or blah blah blah. But if you've been following the show long enough, you know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, that's how you help. And yes, please do so. And I'll figure out this fucking raffle. I've been trying to soundproof this and then at home, like there's huge fucking project. Not trying to get sympathies but yeah, that's just wanted to throw that out
absolutely.
There.
If you keep supporting all the metal sites, what really keeps it alive is buying the actual merchandising.
Yeah.
Not just saying that I like shit, listening on YouTube and download it for free. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand that everybody, money and shit like that, but if this is truly what you love and this is your lifestyle, I mean, buying the actual merchandise is what's going to keep this, if you like, especially talking about the underground, alive.
Well, and also, but like you said, Dread, we don't need to buy a new mic. We need to buy a new stand that J-Dawg does not have to keep fucking moving. Because that's what it is. It is. There's a compressor. I have a feeling that there's a compressor on there. He keeps moving it, and then it's getting outside of that threshold where that compressor kicks in. And then he's becoming too soft. So that compressor's not doing anything to that too soft of audio, because I have to do this on the fly. And I'm seeing his audio at one thing, but he moves it way too far. Now it's just extremely fucking quiet compared to the rest of the stream that you have comfortably listening to. There's my educated guess right here on the fly.
It's like fucking watching a Steven Seagal movie.
Yeah, well, there you go. You like Steven Seagal. So anyway, I wanted, so when you're the greats, I think there's a lot to be of the maintenance. And so when I was reorganizing my collection yesterday, I had on display, and I've kind of even spouted how I'm not so excited about them, but an Iron Maiden Fear of the Dark long box CD. Well, the long box to the CD of that. And so I had that on display, along with a Misfits box set. Two bands that I do enjoy, but in most cases, if I were given a scenario of like any band that you would want to put on top of your rack, it wouldn't be those two. It would be like bands that, had a different long box that I could go to. And of course, there are bands that do. But the point I'm trying to make is Iron Maiden and the Misfits are two really good examples of bands that figured out how to be in your face in any. I mean, if you're taking a piss at the shittiest club in town, you're likely to see Eddie or the Misfits guy, the Crimson Ghost. There was his name. And that's power. That's power of maintaining to be of greatness. You're in somebody's face. Think about it. If you're leading a country and you want to be even a great ruler, like if you're J-Dawg, you ain't fucking hearing about that guy because he doesn't pay attention to the news. But you hear about it some way, shape, or form because you get in everywhere. And that's how shitty, getting back to the mainstream, the difference of cult and shitty mainstream than respectable and great mainstream is that's how mainstream people do. And I don't know if this is a fact, but someone that knows more about it than I do has said that it is fact, that the mainstream record industry, when they take an artist, they lose more money than they make because they'll find shit and make it great, quote unquote, by fucking just polluting the world with it, buying billboards, buying every fucking ad spot that they can just to get it out there, and then they soak it up along the way that, they make millions and millions of album sales from it, but they spend billions advertising it, and they didn't reach the fans that gave a flying fuck. And that's why in this day and age, you can be a niche market and succeed because it's about the fan at that point, and you can find that fan that really gives a flying fuck.
Yeah.
So I think greatness in a lot of ways, at least to be in that ginormous band stature, you have to have a great gimmick, and it might not be so evident as the Cannibal Corpse example in that it's not an Eddie or a Crimson Ghost. Who's their guy? Do they have a guy?
No, not really, no. I mean, they just have a bunch of characters from the albums, like the people recognize, like the Hammer Smash Face Skull, that Kill guy with the fucking, from the Kill album, with that little fucking knife thing. The fetal skeleton, Butcher to Birth, but nothing like the Misfits or anything. Yeah, just, I think just the logo, which technically have two logos.
So I think you were onto it. That was the gimmick. In this case is a less blatant one, and it's one of style. It's one of lyrical themes, but it's still one in a lot of ways.
I think it's the music too. Well, no, I think Well, no, because honestly, there's no album that doesn't have blast beats. There's no album with clean vocals. There's no album with female vocals. There's no album with keyboards. None of that nonsense that people will add into it that didn't start. I mean, if that was your formula, then that's fine. But we know tons and tons and tons and tons of bands that start off and they didn't have any of that shit in there, and then they fucking start adding it. That's something to be said about that. There is something to be said about that, but at the end of the day, when you say it all, there is still a large margin that you're missing, and that is, honestly, that isn't going to be enough. Even someone that's going to love your band, that's going to love Disgorge, they're going to love Sacrifice. They don't, you got to know, they still might not know until it's on the microscopic Sacrifice Old English logo is at the football game that they were watching of the Green Bay Packers, where they're from or love, or I don't know. There's a lot of these bands. Even like the Misfits, I don't think we're on no Green Bay Packers. Well, if they did, it would definitely help get a lot of those douchebags, and that's why you hate the Slayer crowd, though, because those are the plastered audience. Well, yeah, they are, but those are the ones that it's cool to go to. It's like what Paul Baloff says in Another Lesson of Violence. I'm going to go because it's cool. Those are the people who need to be found, thrown out, and destroyed, like he says it. But it's so I think, though, that's an element, and that's what makes it really, really shitty. But that doesn't make you great. And so the bands like your Maidens, like your Misfits, or whatever, that if you agree or not that they're great, they still maintain they're larger than life because they got all of it. Well, let's face the reality. The biggest reason they're doing that is because at that point they're running a business. They're trying to make money on it. Oh, well, yeah. But they're doing it respectably because they're still giving you the good music that doesn't have the female vocals on the keyboards. Going by your examples, I didn't say that makes it bad. I'm just saying that you did start off. No, but it's a good close recipe of what is going to be a gripe, what is going to potentially make it bad. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's kind of where at least the greatness, in a lot of ways, is where it's going to be the larger-than-life greatness, because that's the other aspect to something that's great. You can't exactly be a well-maintained, oiled machine that's got killer music if nobody fucking knows. Well, yeah, of course. So that's where I think having that long box of the Maiden, having the Misfits thing, it's whether you love it or not, as I don't, it's still in your collection. It's still somewhere in there, and that is, I think, kind of the way to achieve that, maintain and well, you're trying to you're at least trying to claim that status. Yeah, because then you have the ultimatum. You have the cult status that when it first came out, no one gave a flying fuck, but then word of mouth and years and time, it just becomes something that they discover and then they love, and especially when it has that word of mouth and that it factor that people are just going to love it for that. Well, part of it is too, I think I kind of said it, what makes you one of the greats too is when you look at your fan base, how many of them are from, not that age matters, but it does at the same time. What I get at, for example, how many people do you think listen to take a terrible band like Mushroomhead? How many people over the age of 30, and I'm sure there's people listen to that band, they're 50s, 60s. You know what I'm saying? What I'm getting at is because a lot of those people drop off. And when I say listen to them, I'm not saying, for example, no, I know this guy, he's 40 and listen to them. Does he listen to them? Or did he used to listen to them? And then when you enter the conversation, because he's got nothing else to talk about other than the weather, because he's a boring-ass motherfucker. But that's the best. He's claiming, I like him, but he hasn't listened to him in 15 years. I'm talking about the guy that listens to him. Well, how many of their fans do they have fans that have been listening for 20 years straight, still listening to them?
See, but
what I'm getting at is these dickheads drop off and they get new ones of the same age demographic, probably between ages 15 and fucking 30, somewhere in there. When they grow up, they stop listening to that junk. When it comes to stuff like Maiden and stuff, I know for a fact you can find tons of peoples in their 50s and shit that have been listening to them for 30 fucking years. That makes you the greats too, because it's not just a fad. It's not just a flash in the pan. Now,
right? Yeah, 100%.
So,
and you can't exactly dismiss those fans that we don't like. That old guy. That I love Power Slave. It's so great. And then he hasn't heard Final Frontier or whatever.
And I don't.
Because still, that's why it's still relevant in his mind, because they did it right.
But the difference is too, with the guy that's Power Slave out of the loop, even though we'll kind of rip on those guys here and there, where I don't rip on him is he's not a guy that, I used to have that. Well, he still has it and he still plays it.
Whatever.
That's a guy. Well, no, because there's a huge fucking difference.
There is.
I'm telling you right now, that Mushroom Head example I'm giving out, I'm telling you right now, you can find some D-bag that says he listens to him. Like, really? And if he doesn't give you an honest answer, when was the last time you listened to him? Oh, I was like, shit, man, I was in high school.
Exactly.
Like, well, you don't listen to him anymore. You used to listen to him.
But you're
just a fucking poser. That don't count. I'm not talking about that. Of course, because he's trying to fit in, because he's met somebody that does like him currently. He's claiming he likes someone. That's not listening to them, dude. That's like something I haven't listened to in 10 years. I don't claim to be a fan of.
Yeah, but something like Bathory. I saw someone post on Facebook or something how they were excited that there was clearly a really, really young girl that was sporting a Bathory shirt and was definitely not even a fucking cum stain when that album was coming out. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that that's living on 30 some years later when the guy's even dead, that's a good example of greatness that's achieved through the power of its music. But if you think about it, it's still got a lot of the recipe of what I've said, where it's kind of in everybody's collection, though, in some way, shape,
because
or
it's available.
form.
Because I think the scene made it to where you're almost obligated to buy it, otherwise you're deemed as a fucking poser.
Yeah, and why is that? And I don't.
Well, it's just time is original for its time, where it was, the amount of shit the bands and influence. Because if you are in the metal scene, like the black metal scene, the thrash metal scene, death metal scene, virtually guaranteed, if you ask them one of their influences, almost every 90% of the time they're going to mention that band.
Yeah.
So the fact that you don't own that, you hear that time after time after time of these newer bands that you're listening to that started up 5-10 years ago. You almost kind of feel like, well, man, I'm a fucking idiot.
But in a way, that's kind of sort of describing one of the instances that I wanted to bring up too, that when you're maintaining your greatness, that's kind of sort of the non-existent, because I'm pretty sure Quarathon and anybody representing Bathory does not have, there's no such thing as a Bathory fan club, but there is a Watain fan club. There is
Bathory is a bad example. I mean, they weren't
it's a good example at the same time.
Well, Doug's, their whole career is kind of like Dark Throne was different. The no-shows.
But so the fan base, though, keeping it alive for them is kind of sort of the fan club they didn't establish or set out to achieve, but somehow got lucky and got. But the fact of the matter, whether they did or didn't do it, cannot serve as someone probably would try to argue, but well, Maiden and stuff, they went out and they established their fan clubs and they did not. That I agree, but they still kind of had it done for them. And so anybody that's even rising to that and is going to prolong that and become one of the greats, they have to have those components. And I think even slightly additionally, and not on every album by Bathory, but in a lot of ways, look at what goes into them, a lot of those characteristics. Bathory, the yellow goat, the old English logo, Venom black metal, most of Venom's covers, at least the classic era, very, very simple is the key I'm getting. You go back to your Misfits. Not so much your Maidens, but badass and simple in this reoccurring story through the mascot kind of aspect. And then so kind of take that formula and, especially if you're in the live stream, you're listening to this episode on repeat, and put that as a formula into any example you can kind of sort of cite. And be honest with it and tell me if any of that is ever missing. It could be missing in the sense that I just said that, yes, Maiden set out and created a fan club and Quarathon did not, but equate it. in that, well, they got diehard fans,
it's a little different,
Necrovore fans.
It's a little different of a scene too. I mean, yeah, they're both metal scene, but I mean, put it to you this way: if I'm going to stumble across, like, if I'm out and about and I'm going to stumble across somebody, like in a conversation, if I'm stumble across an Iron Maiden fan and he wants to yak my ear off about music, or a Bathory fan, I'm going to be much more inclined to talk to the Bathory fan.
Yeah,
just because he's more bound to like other stuff that I like, as opposed to the Iron Maiden fan. That being, there's a good possibility that's the only band he likes that I like. And it's like in that case, like, well, dude, we have nothing in common.
Yes, but it's also and then, but it is always going to be, because whether or not the irrefutable difference between mainstream success and with cult status and just cult status is that maintenance. There's maintenance. The cult status guy is not maintaining.
That's always that's the business side of it.
No, because the cult status guy isn't. He's just put out 2 albums. Like going to Alexander, who spawned this whole conversation that's prolonged an hour. Is that like, they're not putting out more albums?
Well, because they're probably, like I said, dead or in jail.
Well, regardless of why, it still is what happened. You know what I mean? And so the fact that they're sticking around in those albums that or demos in some cases, going to the Vlad Tepes in the black metal sense, and a lot of that stuff, or hell, Sadistic Intent. It's a cult. Well, shit, Sadistic Intent, is that not a bootleg?
I think it is.
Probably
has a label.
I
has a label on the back, but I think a lot of their stuff is actually bootleg, kind of like Necrovore.
Well, so there you go. A fan club,
just like a lot of Mayhem stuff too, like Dawn of the Black Hearts and stuff like that.
Well, there you go.
Bootlegs, because the recordings are they're just floating around at fans. It's released by fans. Now that's a true total like cult club or whatever you want to call it.
Well, right, but it's still a club, and the band didn't establish it. But there you go. Where I'm saying equate it to what I'm saying in that. Forget the reason and the actions of who did it. It still kind of has a very fundamental formula, and that greatness has to be is not going to remain great through a mainstream sense unless it has the maintenance. And when you can find an example of your Necrovores and your Sadistic Intents, it's because of the fan base keeping it alive when the band did not do so themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I think that greatness is achieved through maintaining. You have to you have to have a great.
Well, otherwise it'd be forgotten about. That's like anything.
Yeah, but a lot of great stuff is forgotten.
No, but that's just like saying that's like human beings too, though. Like, for example, after you die, are you going to be truly remembered? Let's face it. I hate to break it to most people, you're not, including myself. The thing is I think a lot of people this is a whole fucking probably.
You are going to be remembered as the co-host of a podcast that could just not.
That's if
keep
something
his shit straight with this microphone.
Well, that's if like people decide.
The
only way it would be, since there's something documented, is if people like enjoyed it and they kept it going, like you said, maintaining the what happened. Yeah. But I think most people. That's why, for example, like people like want to go and have kids because they think, I'm going to maintain my our legacy and their family legacy. It's like, that's a crock of shit. I can tell you that right now, because think about it. How many people know their great-great-grandfather? Can even say their name? I couldn't. I don't know who the fuck it was. I barely know my great. I don't know my great. So I'm saying with that being said, so that's the mentality that people think. It's like, no, it's truly what you do on your own. It's not by you procreate. That's why people are like, my biggest accomplishment is having my kids. It's like, that's your biggest accomplishment? The same thing that everybody in this world does? That's your biggest accomplishment? How about what did you do? The ghetto person having 10 kids, they're doing that left and right. That's your biggest accomplishment? That may be your biggest love, but that's not your biggest accomplishment. Anybody could do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going and banging and getting pregnant, that's accomplishment? That's like, what the fuck? Everybody
that reminds me of the Bill Burr joke.
So what I'm saying, but what did you do? Like I'm saying, if you became like a movie star or a fucking successful anything, you invented the fucking light bulb, you're Albert Einstein, you truly did something, you're a professional athlete, well, then you're going to be remembered. You did something. I mean, like obviously some more than others, but it's like truly did something.
Yeah.
But so that's a whole different fucking story. But it's kind of with the music, where you're saying like the greats, it's being kept alive by either the people or businesses or whatever, because they actually did do something.
Right, and they did something that meant something to people, and especially if the band dismisses that and doesn't do anything about it, that's one thing. But it's never going to prolong the ages of when at least the band is dead and gone, or when those fans that gave a fuck are dead and gone, because things come in waves, things come in popularity, trends, and so on and so forth, that if nobody's alive that cared to keep it going, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even going to have like that fan club aspect of like people creating it for you, like Sadistic Intent bootlegs, or like, you'd have to then just be the good management Iron Maiden at that point, who are still, if they stopped doing everything that they did, they're probably going to, still be around, of course, but it's because they've left such a drastic mark. I mean, they're almost on your fucking water bottle. And that's what it takes in a lot of ways, because otherwise it's going to be, like I keep kind of saying, left up to those people that cared. And that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
You can't even.
That's just because you're relying on other people.
That's truly an achievement if you want to see one at the very sense of the word, when you achieve that.
Yeah.
And most people aren't going to. So yes, you're just going to be that cult guy that's going to be coming around that in 2018, when it's popular to be reissuing shit no one's ever heard of, and that's just the pure sales point of interest, this is going to die off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's always going to be kind of sort of what Justin said in response to your remark about the Maiden guy and how you're going to know that's probably going to be my band that he likes. It's going to have the kill switch engages and stuff in there. And not to really go into the shitty gripe that we like to kind of go on a lot, but it just kind of shows you the dictation, too, that when you do throw it all together, that you got a band like your Maidens that are going to encompass so many different opinions that when you're going into the Sadistic Intent crowd, you're going to the Disgorges, or even the Sacrifices, bands that maybe not so much sacrifice, but kind of sort of at this point, made alive through the sheer fan base, that niche audience. Once that goes away and there's no niche audience that's, in their 40s, let's face it, those are the kind of people that are probably liking it, introducing it to younger people. Well, once those people that cared go, you're gone. You're gone. Like, it's going to be very likely disappearing.
Luckily for that,
I mean, not always, but
but luckily that they're at enough a strong push of a band like that it won't be. But,
right.
But the bands like who I like a lot, like that label Dark Symphonies and Vic. Is it Vic? Is that the label I like? Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vic. I get that. But Dark Symphonies as well. Momenti Mori put out a lot of the obscure stuff, like you said, even stuff that I never even heard of. At times, there's some bands, the death metal stuff. He's bringing the awareness back to them because they were forgotten about and never heard of because they're obscure bands, and I enjoy that. But after those, even his release are sold out. Or 10 years from now, they will be forgotten about again. Because they weren't But it's up to you. If you're that's why I think it's kind of cool about those labels. Is I get the vibe that he's really passionate about that genre as much as I am. And he's kind of like just bringing it aware to like people my age or even younger, because some of that stuff I wasn't around. I mean, I was alive, late 80s, early 90s when that was coming out. I was alive, but I wasn't listening to metal. I mean, I was very young.
I think Dirk really said it. If a band can make their fans feel like they're a part of something, the fans will keep it alive. And forget it. I mean, I've went through great lengths of explaining what I think those components are of care. But
it takes some work at the end of the day. If you want to put it like that, it's going to take some effort and work if that's what it needs. But it can't really be on just one person's part. I mean, unless you're a person of like kind of like power in a sense, and I'm not talking power like fucking president of the United States. I'm not talking that kind of power, but like some type of power, like you have a high up, like you own a label or something of notoriety or something. You're very well known. Like if you're a fucking Bruce Dickinson, somebody of power in the scene. You know what I mean? If he was want to do it, one person can make a difference. But if you're just some fucking ham and egg or just
no, for the most part,
you're gonna need help. You're gonna need help.
So what Dirk said, and to like what maybe has been longly driven and much gotten, but by me utilizing that branding, all those aspects, what that really means is that you're kind of sort of setting up an insurance policy of your legacy.
Yeah.
That when you're dead, you can rest assured that legacy is probably it's either gonna last a long time. And then what happens through that is going to be probably what keeps it alive even further, to where then that's the difference between the mainstream cult and that being good and better than just the cult guy that put out a demo and stuff. Because first and foremost, let's face it, when you slice it like Alexander proposed it, where you're just the cult guy that put out a demo or an album, and that's about it, and that's stayed alive for the years through the fans. while that's all great and cool, that's precisely kind of sort of what that recipe is. Cool. Because people just say, oh, they just had one album, and they didn't get to really know you anymore. You went into the room, you gave a good speech once. You never had a time to go out there and face the grueling of the road, say something stupid, now everyone thinks you're slightly an asshole, then you're redeeming yourself. You never had that opportunity. That for then the huge, larger-than-life mainstream cults in the world, they have. Mm-hmm. They've branded it well. They've got the zillions of albums that are great or bad that have all these different crowds. It's the diversity, and that's the way it's going to survive. Because once the 40 or 5-year-olds that love Disgorge are dead and not carrying on, well, it's probably going to vanish pretty well.
Yeah, probably.
Especially being a Mexican band. Not anything against Mexicans or foreigners, just that or even America, because that sounds like America's great in that sense. But like a world, like you're just kind of in a demographic of entertainment, or just in a position where it's harder to discover. And an extreme example, because I thought that was a really good analogy to this all. You know, like, the soccer mom's never going to like the Scourge. They can never be just the mainstream.
No. But I mean, is there a possibility you can hear the soccer mom listen to Iron Maiden? Yeah. Does the soccer mom probably listen to Iron Maiden? Probably not. But it's I wouldn't be shocked. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
She had some Chronic Corporate Infest playing. I'd be pretty fucking surprised. Well, wouldn't you?
Yes, I'd be additionally surprised.
There's kind of piety going on too on the side.
If she had impiety. Oh man, why did this album title have to be the title? Because I have no idea what the fuck that says.
This is one of my all-time favorite black metal records.
I can't frame it. There we go.
Show them those badass guys in the back too. Back when they used to look cool.
Hey, Shiathan might listen.
Hey, I hope you go back to style, Holmes.
He maybe went bald.
No, he doesn't go. He doesn't duke it out in the spikes, and he doesn't do the corpse paint or anything like that. No, Impiety. I've said about this. Impiety is one of my all-time favorite black metal bands. This is their first album. We reissued it. We did a 300 only red vinyls.
Yeah.
No, just one color only. And then there's 100 picture discs, which in my opinion is an absolute fucking must. Show them that slick back on that picture disc with that band photo.
I was hoping you could do it on that camera. It looks way nicer.
Which camera? Which camera went out?
Yours. None went out. I said this.
Oh, you said this one went out.
That beautiful. Well, it did, and now it's back. It's been back for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can see. Look at that. The transitioning I can do. Problem shooting, talk at the same time.
Yeah. See,
that's probably why I rambled so much.
So there's 100 of these bad boys made. Front. This originally came out in '96, I believe, was the original. This is one of my actual favorite black metal albums ever. From Impiety from Singapore. Their second album, I like it even more. Skull fucking Armageddon.
Hey, say what is the title of this album?
I never knew how to pronounce it. Acetyl Alwelion. I never, to this day, I don't know how to pronounce it. I've been listening to this for
no idea.
I've been listening to this album for like 18 years. I think I first got it in 99, 2000, somewhere around there. So nice. I first heard it. Yeah, it was a long time. Been a fan of it for a long time. But
is Hell's doing a CD too, or didn't we? No, I'm thinking of a horror from Singapore.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was really happy because this actually technically has been on LP. I believe it was. I don't want to throw anybody on the bus. Which I have. It's. I think it was Iron Pegasus, but I could be totally wrong on that. But they switched the cover art. It didn't have this original cover. It was this cheesy ass fucking thing that never had anything to do with it. It just looked like dog shit. No, I think it was Agonia. I think it was Agonia Records. What the fuck am I saying? I think it was Agonia. I know Iron Pegasus did the original Skull fucking Armageddon. There was black vinyl, 400 copies, a colored vinyl. I want to say it's like gray splatter, 100 copies. Very, very hard to get now, which I have that. And then there's 100 pictures as well. And I bought those off Shiathan or Scythian or how the fuck you say his name. I bought those off him in the early 2000s directly. So I was rating him back then. And so, yeah, absolute must. So if you want to have a real sweet weekend, have a sweet package coming your way, go to Hell's Headbangers, get this goddamn Sadistic Intent and this Impiety. And that's J-Dawg approved. That's the kind of package I'd be getting a boner if I had it on my way. How about you? Would that give some wood?
Now I know how to give you a boner.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Send some Impiety.
I don't know if I feel good about that. But that's definitely great.
Impiety Sadistic Intent.
And so You know, I wanted to read this because I thought it was a good remark. Justin said, "Is there a band out there active today you guys feel like can leave behind a legacy like their predecessors?" And you know what, man? I don't know. I know we bring them up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, a few bands that come to mind. I'm going to say Toxic Holocaust, who I love. Midnight could. Well, I'm not saying these will. I'm saying could. And the biggest obvious, who I'm nowhere near as big of a fan of as I am, is Toxic Holocaust at Midnight, but is more than likely going to, is Ghost.
I was going to say that.
Them, yeah. I think it's extremely likely that they will.
Contrary to the popular opinion of maybe this crowd that probably does or loves them or hates them, there's probably a lot more haters. You can't really deny that.
Yeah, no, I'm not a lover. I'm not a lover or a hater. I like some songs by them. I like the song Ritual. I like songs off the second album. I mean, I like some songs by them, and then there's songs I'm like, I just don't like it. It doesn't do anything for me. I'm not a lover or a hater. I'm a fan of some songs, and but I recognize success when I see it. And yeah, can't deny. Will they go down just like the predecessors we mentioned? I would say more likely than not.
Well, I did want to have encourage everybody. Then this is the point where we're gonna leave you, and so I just wanted to encourage everybody to check out Reaper Metal Productions here on the Bandcamp. This is definitely, yes, if you want to help kind of throw some bones and keep this pony advancing in a technological sense. It is more so our the guy behind the mic that's creating the problems for the mic, I think. But nonetheless, we do need more stuff to make this live stream thing mostly have the most impact and change as I'm setting out to do, because I want it to be exactly like the episodes are going to be. I want the episode or going to be are, because the episodes have a lot of audio productions that go in there, and then there's been topics in the show that we've established, like what happened, what the fuck did I think we got new Hellcast listeners through doing these live streams that have no idea that that's even what we used to do, and would really enjoy that, and just, portray the show in a live sense that as it is in the recorded done aspect. So on here we have merchandise, and that's obviously anything. You can get Hellcast shirts and even Heavy Metal Relics stuff, but then the releases Wolf Blood and Cyst. But then also there's a lot of the digital stuff, Crucified Mortals, Lurking Corpses, some of the past stuff they've done. Even Nordic Mist there. I don't know, no one really knows anything about Nordic Mist, but that was something I did with Jim Sadis from Nunslaughter. While I was in Nunslaughter, it was like his Celtic Frost worship project. So at any rate, you can go there and you can jam it and stream it, but you can download it for free. But if you wanted to throw some bones and keep, I think we need better mic stands and a few other things. But that I'll get regardless. But if you really wanted to help that out and make that vision come quicker, and not let homeboy keep making that wallet get lighter. Really stressful and lighter. Especially here as the colder months are on their way, and
I got a broken down car.
I got a broken down car. I got some problems at home. Well, I got a fucking broken furnace. That's just gonna be fucking expensive. Yeah. I'm putting that one off. Ooh. But so nonetheless, Reaper Metal Productions,